Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of my podcast series, Invested, where we sit down and learn from founders, creators, and business leaders making an impact on this world. So far, we've had the pleasure of interviewing public company CEOs, viral TikTok entrepreneurs, and everything in between. And today's guest is keeping this amazing momentum going. Tim Vieira is a lifelong global entrepreneur. After college, Tim established one of the first independent microbreweries in South Africa. After that, Tim moved to Angola with his wife, where he built Special Edition Holdings, one of the largest media groups in the country. Here, he employed more than 400 people and owned some of the most important outdoor billboard operators, event rentals, brand activations, digital printing, and media planning companies in the region. His company transformed the business environment of Angola and brought the country's economy to new levels. In 2015, Tim burst into the public spotlight after his participation in the first season of Shark Tank Portugal. Here, he invested in several founders and instilled hope and inspiration in the hearts and minds of millions of Portuguese citizens. After Shark Tank, Tim decided the next challenge he wanted to take on was improving education for students across the globe. So, with that goal in mind, Tim founded Brave Generation Academy in 2020. BGA provides an online curriculum recognized by the world's leading universities as the gold standard of international education. BGA offers learners a different experience, equipping them with soft skills for life. BGA has set up hubs around the world, making education more accessible and flexible, offering more opportunities for all. And on top of all of that, Tim is now also running to be the next President of Portugal, a country that he feels has so much potential, despite already being one of the 50 largest economies on the planet. He strongly believes that Portugal, with the right investment and vision, can truly offer a world-class lifestyle and opportunities to supply the world. I learned so much from my conversation with Tim, and I trust you will too. Enjoy. All right, Tim, thank you so much for joining us here today. I am super excited to dive into your background. You have had quite the global career out of everyone I've spoken to so far. I think we can all learn a lot, but for more of my American audience, would love if you could just give the quick 30-second background, the elevator pitch on yourself, and what brings you to still give so much energy to the business world.
Yeah, so well, I'm like an optimist, realist, a little bit of everything. I was born in Africa. So I was born in South Africa. My family is from Mozambique, heritage from Portugal. My kids were born in Angola. And then I came back to Portugal. And Portugal is a base now for all our businesses, which are basically around quite a few in Africa. So we're operating in South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, Angola, Cape Verde, and then we bought the global in US. We've opened now Boca Raton in Florida, so we're doing something there. We've got Spain, Phuket. We got a team now that's just arrived in Brisbane to open a Brisbane branch. So it's a little bit of everything, but I think my life has been a lot about trying to be in businesses that I love. Starting with beer. I love beer. Started beer, then went into marketing and enjoyed that in Angola. And now education. So yeah, a little bit global, but a lot based in Africa. Africa has been my stronghold.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. I have to mention my stepdad is actually also from South Africa. He's from just outside of Johannesburg, and then went to school at Michael House before coming over to the US. Yeah. So still haven't made it to South Africa myself. It's a trip that my family wants.
Yeah, beautiful school.
But
beautiful school, Michael House. Yeah. So you'll love visiting it. Very nice.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned then that you started with a microbrewery. You started a beer company. I think that's the dream of probably any person my age, having their own beer company. Why beer? And then afterwards you switched. You switched into more of the media and advertising business. On the outside, that looks like a pretty different industry, but I'm curious if you could just kind of walk through the thought process that first got you into beer and then the eventual pivot into where you went with the advertising.
Yeah, really beer, because life's too short to drink bad beer. So I thought, we've got to contribute to a world of better beer. And that's what happened. I really love the beer business. I still drink a little bit too much beer, but it is what it is. You get told, you need to follow your passion, do things that inspire you, etc. And I think that really did, because it was like almost being a master chef. You got to try out different brews. You would experiment. You would test. You would have friends over. So it was more than a business. It becomes like a way of life. And I think it's very, very enjoyable. And then I managed to make beer that was able to be consumed en masse. So I found a niche market, a market in that time where we had apartheid. So I could actually brew beer that was being sold in the kind of townships. Okay. So they were looking for a brand that would inspire them and motivate them and also mean something for them. And that's what I did. So it was a different time in South Africa. And I think that was my niche. So I was producing wonderful beer, getting to drink a lot of it, making lots of friends. A man that got beer has friends. And I was actually at the same time being able to just inspire, what was back then, during apartheid, segregation and so on, giving them an identity in the beer they were drinking. So it was really something. Yeah.
So talk to me through that. So obviously very mission driven. That seems like a common theme throughout everything you've done. And especially now, of course, with Brave Generation, but kind of going back still a few years before that, when you switched into the media and the advertising space in Angola, surely you saw an opportunity there. Was that just kind of a white space in the market? Why did you make that move? I know you moved yourself and your wife to Angola in 2001.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big switch. Just curious why you decided to take that initiative and take that.
Yeah.
move at
Once
that
my beer business basically, we sort of were pushed out of the market, and when that happened, I understood that maybe South Africa wasn't the best place to be super entrepreneurial. It had still lots of players that were very dominant in their areas. And when I then got into Angola just finished a civil war, and there was opportunities. It was a dollar-based economy. South Africa was rand-based, struggling a little bit more. And then with regards to Angola, there was everything to do, everything to start. And it was the land of opportunity, and any entrepreneur, it was, a white canvas. And obviously with all the brands arriving there, one of the first staples they need is marketing. They need printing, they need a campaign, they need billboards, they need, media buying, they need research. So that's what we started setting up, a company called Special Edition, where we had research company, we had TBWA in advertising, we had Omnicom in media buying, we had big media in billboards, digital printing. But it was one-stop shop that actually executed and delivered. That was also a big advantage. You're in a country that was just come out of a war, very difficult to deliver. But if you could execute, you're going to get clients because people wanted things done. The big brands, like Coca-Cola, those kind of brands, they were looking for solutions. So we were there and we started providing solutions, and it just grew and grew and grew. So yeah, that's how the marketing came about.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good example to a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. Sometimes you don't always need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to find an opportunity or a problem that needs to be solved.
And I think once again, that was a big advantage. So even though, you sometimes fail, those failures prepare you for the opportunities that come along. And I think that's very important as an entrepreneur. And then as an entrepreneur, I think what a market like Angola and many other markets show you is that execution is key. You can talk, you can voice, you can have all the systems, but if you can't execute and deliver, you're basically done. You won't grow. And I think that was our big difference with everybody else. It was that we're really always promising and over promising, and in the end, even we would many times come get the contract because it had been dropped. So that was also quite interesting. And there you also learn about how important a team is, because again, you're just as good as people you have with you. And in in a market like Angola and many other markets that are starting out or growing, or any new kind of market, you look at AI, you're going to be as good as the people you attract that are great with AI. And that's how good your company is. You can have the most beautiful offices, the best invoicing system. But if you don't have people that can deliver something special, you've got no business. So I think that's also what I learned up there. I also learned a lot about how to manage people. I think in that kind of environment, you learn that you can't micromanage. You need to delegate. You need to trust. You need to let people become their own leaders and at the same time inspire others and lead others. So that was always something I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I used to look at my competitors and they try to sort of police everything and micromanage everything. But you miss out on a lot of big deals and a lot of big opportunities when you do that.
So again, walking through kind of just the timeline of things now, let's get to 2015. So this is probably one of the more highlights. You were on the first season of Shark Tank in Portugal. That's pretty exciting. Obviously, Shark Tank is a huge show here in the US. There's Dragon's Den across the pond. What was that experience like? Was that just really, were you a big fan of Shark Tank beforehand? Or what was kind of your exposure to kind of the theatrics of, the television and all of that before actually becoming a shark on the Portuguese version of Shark Tank?
I actually went in by mistake and I wasn't a fan. I sort of came in at the last moment to help out the program because someone that I was supposed to be there couldn't be there anymore. And because I'd always been quite like silent in the back seats, I used to be like a CEO that had like a managing director in the front, and I'd just always be in the back help and work. And that's how I worked with my partners and all that. But then when that show came in, I did embrace it and I thought I'm going to enjoy this because I was in a time of my life where, I wanted to take a break. I wanted to listen to ideas. I wanted to think a little bit out the box. I'd just done a trip around the US where we had done 20,000 miles from one side to the other and back again. Done some travel in Africa, in Europe. So I was in a good space, and I thought, okay, let's go and let's enjoy this. And that's exactly what I did. I enjoyed that season of Shark Tank. It had it was really a big hit, and it happened during a very difficult time in Portugal. We were going through a crisis. Everything was negative. People didn't, believe in the economy. And yet Shark Tank gave a little bit of hope that you could raise money. You could have a dream. You could, have success with the project. And I think that was what was fun about it. Now, the projects weren't all the most amazing projects. They weren't going to, go global, etc. But the people that presented them, there was passion, there was entrepreneurship. They were good at communicating. They had a dream, So I started betting more on the people than the projects, and obviously like that, it does drop your success rate, but at the same time, it does get you good people that sometimes, you can adapt the business plan and do something a little bit different, etc. And that's what happened. We had some successes, some non-successes, but overall it was really a good success for me overall because I really enjoyed the people I met. It was a great network. And also I think if you do come on TV, people just then somehow, trust you, enjoy you, like you. It's crazy, but it's for the first time in my life, I experienced that. And I was the same person I was outside Shark Tank, in Shark Tank, and that made it easy for me because I didn't have to live two lives. And I think the bigger businesses came outside of Shark Tank, after that. And even today, I'm still in the ecosystem. People still contact me and, it's still a lot going on, even though I'm not an active investor now. I'm, still help people, connect people and so on. So it was overall really, really good.
Yep. No, it sounds fantastic. Of course, being a shark on Shark Tank, you are looked at as the mentor. You're going to help the other founders, the other entrepreneurs on their journey. I'm curious though, if you flip it around, what did you learn from the entrepreneurs that you invested in? Were there any kind of lessons or big takeaways that you found in your experience working with, less experienced
Yeah, I think
entrepreneurs?
that I understood that loan sharks don't work. You do need to have a team around you. So those ideas that came with one really good person, but very flat and no one else, was very difficult. But I basically learned that as well, if they don't have a certain amount of skills, that, it's going to be really difficult to make it work. So it's always those same
Right.
lessons that you got to learn the hard way. But at the same time, it's those kinds of lessons that prepare you for when there is a better opportunity in the future, you go for it. But overall, there's no regrets.
Yep.
There's no regrets. I would say that on money invested, in the end, with everything that came out of it, we probably broke even. But in fun factor, it was
Yep.
amazing. And in contact factor, incredible. And then going forwards, really, really worth it, because I still have people that when they see me, oh, Tim, you're my favorite shark, and it's like weird to just think about it. It's been 10 years ago, almost, but they still see me as a shark. And obviously that's it's stuck with me. And also you start behaving in a different way because you need to be respected. So you also, you start treating people in a certain way, etc. So it's good. It makes you maybe
Sure.
even a better entrepreneur because it makes you think a little bit more of the consequences if things go wrong, and that's also good.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. I had someone on the podcast a few weeks ago who has a few million followers now, and he had said that the biggest thing that he's learned through this experience is that, for better or worse, you're always watched, and it does kind of make you think a lot more about your actions and the consequences than, if you were just some not anonymous investor, but it does kind of change things when you have a brand around you. Of course, it's a common thing to invest in the founder and not necessarily the idea. I'm curious from your perspective, if it's someone who you really truly believe in the founder, but the product itself that they're selling isn't, the most amazing thing in the world. What is it that you look for? Does the founder need to be that great fit? Or are you looking for just an amazing product? Because there's kind of the two ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah.
Is it an amazing founder? Is it an amazing product?
Yeah.
Or do you try to find something kind of in the middle?
Yeah, I think there's always a little bit of a mix, but if you don't have a founder that's going to be persistent, that's going to believe in himself, you've got a problem. And also, if you don't have a founder that can listen, that can adapt, that can change, if he's just one-sided, then, doesn't work well with the team and so on, then you're going to have another problem, So that the founder is a very, very vital part of the puzzle. Okay. And I think in today's world, the perfect founder is someone that's got a lot of passion. He's got skills. He does listen. He knows how to work in a team. But he won't let anything stop him. Okay. And that means that a no is just a question asked in the wrong way, and he'll ask it in another way and ask it in another way, and ask it in another. And then he's got to believe even when nobody else believes, because I think many times that's what happens. And then you also want a founder that understands the value of money and values your money, so that he looks at what the burn rate is, and he's got a plan on when will it become, when will it be a break even, when will it produce returns, and where's he adding value, etc. So it's those kind of things, and knows his weaknesses, and he's open to work on those weaknesses. So if you've got a founder that's very weak financially, but still wants to run the finances, you're in trouble. Or if he's a really bad marketer, but he wants to be involved in those decisions, it's going to be a problem. So you've got to see how compatible you are with it, because it is a marriage, you as an investor, normally I don't invest and just, be silent. It's more, I try to be an active investor, and use my contacts, use anything I can to give value, because sometimes the value comes even more than the funds in how you help them find off takers or open doors, etc. So if you can't work with that person, or let's say if you can't have a beer with that person, then you shouldn't invest with that person. Really, I think it's going to be a painful relationship. And after a while, it's going to be difficult, and then it will, go down the wrong way. And I think that's important. So you've got to see, can you work with this person? Can you, will you will you have a drink with them? You know, I think it is important. And will you have a drink with them once a week? Will that be okay? You know, if
Sure.
okay, all right, let's look at it. It's okay. Yeah.
No, I like that. I worked in consulting initially out of college, and that was a big thing there. It was called the airport test in interviews. Is this person that you're interviewing? Is it the type of person who, if your flight was delayed 6 hours, you'd be okay spending those 6 hours with them at the airport? And I think it is a valuable question to ask because, as great of an idea may be, if you're going to be with them for the next 10 years, you want to actually like the person.
And what
That's true.
values do you share with them? What ethics do you have with them? Because you've got values and they've got different values. Again, it's not going to work. You know, how transparent are they? If they're very secretive, etc., and you're super transparent, and you will get to a point where you won't understand. You'll see that transparency as like something that's being hidden or something like that. You know, so I think it's important that you do date before you make a commitment. And see if you're on the same page, you're on the same wavelength. And then if you are, then yes, then it's, as an investor, you can't change your mind halfway. Then you've got to go all out, right? Because they're going to go through stresses like you can't believe. You know, founders go through big stresses. There's salaries, there's looking for business and maybe more investment, etc. So that's going to be a tough road. So then you've got to stick with them and become more patient, and at the same time, again, be that voice of wisdom and etc. Because it's more than the money, you know. And yes, you've got your money at risk, but also, again, as you said, reputation and the potential of what the success could be. You know? That's also a big one, you know. Right. And then if you're investing in something that can create impact, even more important than the money is the amount of impact you could create. And if you spoil it, you might lose all that potential.
So we understand now what you look for in the founders that you've invested in. But I want to flip things over again. For your own founder journey, what do you think it is about yourself that allows you to be as great as you have been? What do you think your competitive advantage is that has allowed you to build and grow so many businesses throughout your career?
I think it's all my insuccesses, like all my failures, because, you know, you're saying like I've been successful and I've built all these things. But if I had to add all the ones that didn't work, there would be a heavy weight towards that. You know, there would be many more businesses that didn't succeed. You know, what I think my advantage is that I've used those failures as real lessons, and I've used those failures to spur me on to successes. You know, so when there have been opportunities of success, I think it's been all my failures where I learned from that have helped me to move forward. And I think also never damaging your brand. So having a name that sometimes, you know, I've had to swallow some frags because, you know, and forgive some clients or forgive some suppliers. And by doing that, it's like kept my brand okay. Because you never know when you come across them again or when you're going to need them again or who they know. You know, it's a small world nowadays. So all those failures, I think you really learn from them, and I think they do prepare you for the future. And you can't just read about it in books. And if you're not having failures, it's because you're not trying hard enough. Because I think every time you try, you see a failure. But a failure doesn't mean total failure. Sometimes it's a small one that readjusts and pivots you somewhere else. You understand? Sometimes employing the wrong person readjusts. Okay, what's the job description, and how do we need the next person? Or do we now find technology that replaces those kind of people? So we never have to do that again. So there's lots of lessons that you learn with these failures, but being successful takes a lot of failures. You know, and you can't read about them. You've got to live them. And then you can't stay down. You know, it's like if you're in a boxing ring, you're going to get punched and you're going to fall sometimes, but it's how you get up. It really is, you know? So, it's how you motivate yourself. And many times it doesn't come just by your own like inner strength, but it comes by those people you have around you, you know. So if you've got good people around you, you've got good family, you've got good you know, managers and friends, all those help you to get up. It's your corner men, you know, they're there and they're helping you and they're putting water on you and they're motivating you and they're cheering you on. I think it's so important. So if you think you're going to go alone, you might go alone, but you know, when you do get punched hard enough, they're not going to have anybody to pick you back up. So I think that's what's important. So it's all these lessons that you learn, and it's also no fun sometimes doing things all alone. So I've normally done things and partners with people and made, some people founders with me as we doing the business, and a lot of my staff have always had interest because it is a lot more fun being in that same boat and fighting for the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, talking about failure, I think is obviously so important. You see, I mean, the classic example is even Travis Kalanick with Uber. His prior company before that failed. He was the last one working on it. And then he kept going and got Uber off the ground. Talking about failure though, where do you see the balance between just holding on for dear life, being totally committed to your idea, but then at some point, like you said, you have to start a new company. You tried a lot of different things. When did you decide that it was kind of time to call it quits on this project and start something new?
Yeah.
Because I think some people they truly believe that what they're doing is right, but maybe it actually is time to give up. But then there's other examples when maybe you're one conversation away from a breakthrough. So I think for a founder, how can they approach that to know when enough is enough? Maybe now it's time to call it quits with this.
It's always a tough one, because it's either you got tenacity and you're persistent, or you're stupid. Those are the two extremes. Okay.
Sure.
And I always say that if you want to cover up a hole, the first thing you do is you stop digging. Okay. Sometimes you can see someone in a hole and you're trying to tell them, listen, this is not working, but they're still digging and they think they're working hard, but the hole's getting bigger and they're getting more into the hole. So it does sometimes come by being very honest and having good people around you once again, that you ask, is this service needed? Is this product needed? Are we really better than our competitors? And if you're getting no, then you're being stupid. If it's a yes, or a yes, and a no, okay, well, there could still be the tenacity and persistence, and maybe I just haven't had the break yet. So let's maybe dig a little bit, and maybe the diamond is there. So you do have to be very honest, but you need people that are honest with you. Ask your grandmother and your dog if they like the product, because they sort of say yes. But if you ask the right people, and then if you also are mature enough to listen properly, you should be wise enough to say, okay, I understand this is not what's needed. Either I need to pivot totally or partially, but if I keep doing this, it's a big hole that I'm getting in. And so that's important.
You talked a lot about having the right people around you. How do you find the right people? As a founder, as an entrepreneur, you said to yourself, it sometimes can be a lonely journey. How do you find those people? If you're not fortunate to have, to be in a vibrant environment where you're around a bunch of other founders, if you didn't go to a school where a ton of people are going on similar journeys, what would your advice be to somebody to find at, personal board of directors, the people in their life who can hold them accountable and be honest about their businesses?
Yeah, I think, boys, the project is a big determinant on the people you're going to attract. Okay. So I see it now, working education and working in trying to make an impact in education. It attracts people. It attracts people that went through bad education or didn't, they weren't compatible with the education systems that existed. You see other people that maybe have kids that just aren't working in education. So they've got a passion and they want to make they want to make a change. So you start attracting them. And normally those people have a lot of passion, they've got skills, and the project is sometimes bigger than the remuneration, especially when you're a startup. So that attracts interesting people. So I think in education, we've been really lucky to get those. The kind of people that want to impact young people, they want to impact lives, they want to impact where things are going. They want to, we've got hubs in refugee camps and things like that. So they feel good about it. So that's great. And you actually finding there's a lot of people that aren't happy making money, but they want to make a difference. So, you attract those people, and then obviously, well, they're going to keep them as well if you are giving them a remuneration that's fair. but they working extra because they believe in it. So I think that's important. And then I've also got people that have been with me, since primary school. So they've always been with me. So those are, they like sort of little generals. They're there with you, and whatever you go into, they also see the vision. There they go again, and they already know how you work. They know when you're in a bad mood. They know that you'll get over it. They don't take things so personally, and they'll tell others to say, just he's having a bad day, forget about it, etc. And those are also very important, So it's just like a relationship. You might love someone in the beginning, but then you got to create a friendship, or it won't last either. And then you got to create a vision for your life. So again, with a company, you got to create a vision of where we're going to go. And then you got to be super entwined on making that happen. And reinventing it a little bit all the time, keeping it interesting, etc. So business is very much like relationships. I really believe that. But again, as a leader, it comes up to listening again, but at the same time, making tough decisions. Sometimes not being sure about what you're doing, but looking like you are sure. But when everyone walks away, you cry by yourself a little bit, and and hopefully you're in the right place. And then again, is also having faith, having hope, because once you've lost hope or faith, then you're really done. So it is about, you've got to live up to an image, and it's tough, because if you look like you're stressed and everything's going downhill, your army is going to run for it, and sometimes you will have some of them run. And also then you got to know, is it worth trying to keep them, or is it actually better to say, good luck, all the very best, and then using the army that stays and saying, let's reinvent ourselves and get stronger. It's also an opportunity sometimes to make everyone better, because sometimes the people that leave you think are indispensable, but they're not quite indispensable. They sometimes put shade on a lot of people, or they've been a bit of a eucalyptus. They've taken a lot and given, they're good at their job, but they've also stopped other people from growing. So you've got to look at it and be honest with yourself. How do you communicate that with others? And sometimes others don't even see it, until you tell them, and then they say, "Oh yes, okay, now," and you can re-motivate them that way. So it does take experience. It's a little bit there. You normally don't marry the first girl you date. It takes, so you also learn that, I love you, and sure, tears, and it's you. But you're learning along the way. It's the same thing, I think, in business and leading people. And it's a tough thing to get leading people nowadays, because being a leader is challenging, and it's really, really tough. There's all these different generations. So, you're dealing with some generations that you've never dealt with before, and they're so different, so sensitive, or they're so passionate about things that you have no value to. You think, we've gone through much worse than this, but for them, this is tough. And you've got to be sensitive to it, and you've got to sometimes learn from that as well. You know what I'm saying? But I think if you're an example, even they start learning from you. And I think it's a win-win. You can get benefits from both.
Education, something you're clearly very passionate about. You started Brave Generation Academy. What was kind of the moment that made you decide that was going to be your next focus? Would love to, first of all, learn a little bit more about it for the audience that's listening, but then also just understanding that of all the things that you could have committed your time to, why did you decide to go down that path?
Yeah, in education, because I just never really believed what we're doing at the faith. Okay, so I went through education, so I never studied education. I was never a teacher or anything, but I think the years we get in education teach you a lot. And when I was there was stuff I loved. I've done much more of it, and there was stuff I didn't love, but I had to do it. And it's almost like sometimes you're telling someone that maybe like Ronaldo, who's a big football player, and you're telling him, okay, you're great at football, you're so good at football, but you know what? You got to stop all now. Okay, and you got to go practice chess because you're not good at chess. And what's that really going to help him? Because he wouldn't have done what he did if he had done that. And I think we do that to a lot of people in education. We're also very implicit, and we we put everyone in the same boat and everyone the same, and then we compete with everybody. And parents pair their children to their neighbors and to their cousins, all that. Well, when I started looking at how could we make education more flexible personally, and I really believe that if we're able to make it more flexible without happier learners, if we could make it personalized in terms of curriculum, again, without happier learners, and if we could have it more relevant for today's world, it would also be better for learners. So I took away a lot of the stuff nowadays. We talk a lot about well-being and mental health and all this stuff, but there's a cause of it. And it's not, if we talk about it that we're going to fix it, we actually have to change our system to fix it. And that was what was difficult. When I looked at schools and I thought, how do we change the school? It's very difficult because the teachers, if you talk to them individually, they won't change. But then as soon as you look at it at the school, it can't change. It goes back into being a school. Right. So I looked at it and said, let's start something that's not called a school. We went to the academy. Let's call something that's called Brave Generation, because you're going to have to be brave. And the name actually started more for the parents. So they would have to be brave because they expect everything the way it normally is. And we said, and we'll be very, very learner focused. And that meant if there are learners that are very academic, we'll give them a lot of academics and they will grow academically 100%. And they can go to the best universities. They can do whatever they want, but they will be, going at their pace, because sometimes their pace is even faster than what they normally can do. So great. If it's someone who's less academic and they need to go a bit slower, but they're going to get better grades and they're going to understand things better, let's go for that. If it's someone that's very sporty and what they really love is sport or culture and then school, let's do that and then school, So we started to see how do we fit that into people's lives. And then curriculum. Do they need the British International? Do they need the US core? Or could they actually start our UP program at 16 and doing their university and finish earlier? Our UPEX, can they actually do 3 months in one country, 3 months in another country, 3 months in another country? And they almost ticking with travel, experiences, and academics. Okay, they can do that. And that's what we started to find, is that you can do a lot of the stuff. Okay. But, you just don't do it, because schools are used to doing this curriculum, going about it this way, and they're comfortable and they've got waiting lists and you pay. So, now we've got to the point where we've proved that concept works. We've got 60 Hub. We now started to go into schools and we're powering the education in a school in a different way. And that's started to be really successful. And that excites me because it gives us a whole new way of doing stuff. And in the end, we're just getting happier learners and learners that become more responsible, more accountable. They're better prepared for the future, which is, take your learning into your own hands. It's going to be a lifelong learning going forward. And hopefully in the future, we'll actually have maybe different curriculums again that we can plug into, and maybe even have curriculums from companies that would say, do this if you want to come here, if you want to go to Tesla, if you want to go to Microsoft, wherever you want to go, come and tell us. And for those that just want to impact people, we've got amazing stuff now that we've got kids in the most remote areas learning the exact same thing they learn in London. You know what I'm saying? So again, that's great. Yeah. And the thing is, I think for too long, we've been telling parents their kids have got a problem, or their kids or the parents have come to us and told us, oh, my kid's got a problem. But it's not really the kids. It's really a system that's got a problem. But we need to start changing it. And I think that's what we're on to,
Yeah. No, it's something I'm passionate about myself. And of course, here in the US, we see a lot of the flaws of the educational system and how it seems like they're just trying to churn out, the same person with, not really that much unique skill sets. And that's not what really helps you in your career. You need a little bit of specialization. You need, that competitive advantage. So I think giving students the opportunity to focus on what they want to focus on, that's what keeps you in it for the long run.
And
you're going to be more motivated.
Everything you say is simple. It's like simple. Like, let them do it. You look at it as kids get older, we take away from them and we keep telling them they no good. But when they were young, you see and you look at them and you go, wow, what a genius, this kid. It's like you really see it as we start diminishing them. And then also parents competing and thinking that kids need to do everything. No, sometimes maybe just do one thing really well and you'll be amazing. and that's enough. And, and if we tell the kids that, don't worry, even if you're not sure what you want, faster. And then, once you find something you like, go more into that. I'm saying that. And doing that, we're going to get different people. Doing that, we're going to really, I think, get more happier people. And, and in the end, that's what you want to employ. You want to employ those people that are, they're happier. They're going to be more creative. They're going to be better at working with teams. They're going to be more motivated. And I think that's all we want, so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great work that you're doing, and I'm excited to follow along in the future. Speaking of just the future and educating the next generation, I understand politics is now an interest for you as well. Where did that come from? What are your aspirations? I understand, you were in talks of running for president of Portugal. Where does the motivation for that come, especially at a time that we see just so much, language and just the divisiveness that, at least here in the US, that we've experienced, it at times could be a scary decision to make. So curious is where that passion came from and what you're looking to accomplish.
Come on. So for me, it's something I really didn't want to do, but when you get to a position where you start thinking, if I don't do anything, I'm actually a bad example for the kids that we got at Brave Generation, a bad example for my own family. I look at the leadership we have around the world nowadays. I'm not inspired. I just feel like, wow. And then I also see that none of us do anything about it. We just complain, and we have a lunch and a dinner and you talk about it and you do social media posts about it. So that's when I decided to say, no, I'm going to run for president of Portugal. At the moment I'm leading, which is great, so it's good because I'm the only one who's put up my hand. So it's good. But in reality, it really is, I think we need to start getting out of these, like where we're comfortable and saying, look, we need something different. We need better things. We need leaders that we can look up to and try to be those people. And also going with the right motivation, it's like very, very important. And in Portugal, I really want society. I believe in this country. I think we've got this amazing country, but it's got so much bureaucracy. It's got political parties that look more after their own interests than they do in the global Portugal. And when I'm talking about Portugal, if you could almost copy paste this to so many other places. And then we've got our politics have been run by the same people for 50 years. It's the same family, same people, the same, and we are so stupid because we expect different results, but we're not getting there. Right? So when you start looking at market's future being, potentially less bright than my own, well, then there's a problem because we should be improving. Like I want to be a good dad, but I want them to be even a better dad than I was, and all this because that's how we improve the world. And I think we don't have that. I think we confuse a lot of things. I think we don't put in the main most important things in the full. And that's really what I want to bring through. It's President of Portugal isn't a very executive role, but it is a role where you can change mindsets, bring parties to work together. You can select who are ministers and see if you approve them when they're selected. But it is uncomfortable when you try to do those things. But I think, that's why I really want to be a one-term president and then not do it again. But that one term, I really do want to make sure that it's done for the right reasons. Again, and that's it. So it's, and if I do, and I'm hoping that my decision in running for president will bring others to run. And I'm hoping that someone better than me will run so that I can actually say, look, I support him and pass it on to him or her and say, this is the right person because of this. And I support that, because I really hope that, because I don't have all the skills to do it properly. But I just think at the moment, the people that are also doing it are lacking a lot of skills, and I think, and many of it is just, basic leadership skills, value skills, ethical skills, and really putting a country before yourself. So that's it.
Yeah. Well, it's refreshing to hear those perspectives. And I think a lot of the world is waking up to realize that that's what we need. That's what our countries need. We want someone who believes in the future of our country, and understands how great it can be. So look forward to keeping up with that. I understand we're at time now. So, Tim, thank you so much for joining us today. I certainly learned a lot, and I just wanted to say thank you for all of the work that you're doing, not just in Portugal, but around the world. But there is a lot to cheer for, and I am just excited to see what's in store.
Cameron, thank you so much. And yeah, we'll be in the US soon, so I look forward to catching up with you there. Okay.